I did not remember that both the Resident Evil remake of the original and Resident Evil 0 came out the same year.
That is weird.
On GameCube.
It's a lot of Resident Evil in one year.
Yeah.
But anyway, the first one to come out was the Resident Evil remake.
Yeah.
Which was an incredible game.
Oh, it was great.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the, at the time, it was like one of the most beautiful, terrifying games ever made. It like perfected those pre-rendered backgrounds. And it took that game that we all remembered playing that was all pixely and blocky and polygonal.
Plague.
And just made it absolutely gorgeous and terrifying, and reworked the puzzles and reworked the combat and sort of the two-character scenario in such a way that, you know, we look back and if you're into like classic survival horror Resident Evil, that's most people's favorite game in the series. Like by the time 4 rolled around, it changed things enough in terms of sort of redefining it as an action game.
Yeah, which, I mean, you know, for the times, like I suppose that was acceptable and like almost kind of necessary, because like you couldn't have just made Resident Evil 2 or 3 again.
Yeah, although they're doing that with 2.
Well, but I'm fine with that because 2 is great.
Yeah, I mean, even though it was a fantastic, phenomenal game, probably the best Resident Evil at the time, it didn't sell particularly well.
Yeah,
I think that may be what convinced Capcom to move into a more action-oriented style with Resident Evil 4, which again is another great game.
Yes, absolutely. Oh yeah, and Resident Evil 4 is like, I mean, that might be one of the most influential games that of the past 15 years. Yeah, but it was an interesting. I think part of the reason it didn't sell super well was because it was locked to the GameCube, whereas Resident Evil 4 eventually came to PS2.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then Resident Evil 0 was an interesting. That's a easily forgotten entry, even though the remake's coming out very soon.
Yeah.
Or the
Is it
HD.
early next year?
I think so. Yeah.
That's only the last
It's
one
interesting
came
too,
out.
because like canonically, that's like actually a really important one too. Isn't that the one where they explain like where the T virus comes from?
Yeah, it takes place before Resident Evil. That's Rebecca, and she's on a train with a cool guy named Billy who's got weird tribal tats.
Ex-con.
Yeah.
He killed a bunch of people, so he's a good guy.
Yeah. So they introduced the partner zapping system, so you can switch back and forth.
Zapping system. I forgot about that. Yeah. It's all on a train. Yeah, it was that was a weird game, but
Yeah. See, I started playing that one, and then it like I just played the Resident Evil remake, which is a masterpiece, and so I was like,
I think I got to the very end and just got so frustrated when they were like, okay, and the bad guys just turned into a giant slug monster. I was like, nope, done, throwing the controller away. I can't.
You threw the controller away?
Did you crumple it?
I crumpled it into a ball and threw it into the garbage.
You should have just gotten rid of the game.
No, I just put it down.
Yeah.
I kept the controller, I just put it down on the desk and then probably get up and ate an entire pizza. That's usually how I operate when I am upset at a game.
It was weird to me just to see Resident Evil on the GameCube, because I always see it as this like very wholesome console with like
wholesome.
It's a Nintendo console. You know.
Yeah,
Fair.
well,
The GameCube.
Because a lot of the games I played on GameCube were like Wind Waker and like
Sunshine.
and like all these like great. So to get that game on there is like this like mature game with all this bloody stuff coming out of this thing. It's like a Pixar movie suddenly having like blood spurts. I'm like,
What's going on here?
Yeah.
It had it had such free like I knew the first Resident Evil front and back, but then replaying this one, it had like the crazy lady in the basement.
Oh,
this is terrifying.
In the remake?
In remake.
Yeah.
It was never in the original Resident Evil. That was
so
horrifying.
good. You can hear her chains coming. Oh man.
I don't like that at all. I don't want to talk about that anymore.
Let's not think about it. And the dogs looked so much worse.
Oh my god. And Crimson Heads?
Oh, yeah.
You killed a zombie, you came back and it was back as a super zombie that just ran after you and didn't care?
Yeah.
You kidding? Get out of
No,
here.
thank you. Crumple, throw away.
Resident Evil 0 was actually first shown off as an N64 game at E3.
I'm really glad it did not end up as one.
I know.
That is
I don't
very
think they could
strange.
fit it on the cartridge.
Oh God, no.
You could
It'd
barely,
be
you could
the
barely fit
first
Resident
two
Evil 2 on the
cartridge games.
Yeah. Remember how the Resident Evil 2 cartridge was literally heavier than other games?
Yep.
See, I played it on PlayStation, so I didn't.
So did I, but I remember a stupid buddy of mine who didn't have a PlayStation.
I was one of those stupid buddies.
Oh, sorry, buddy.
It's okay.
But like, you would
Sad.
pick up the cart and it was like legitimately like, I don't know.
It was probably
I
like
was about to say a
half a
pound, but probably not a pound.
No, it was probably
heavier.
like 4
But it was like
ounces.
noticeably.
You're like,
heavier.
oh.
Yeah. We should have how much does this game weigh off?
Like a betting
With gold
pool.
cartridges?
Yeah.
Gold carts, yeah.
Do gold carts weigh more? Can we make an actual solid 24 karat gold cart?
Yeah,
Okay.
we're going to do that.
Okay, but you're in charge of stealing all the gold to do that.
I'm
Probably
gonna smelt a bunch of people's wedding
Probably.
rings.
It's
Or
fine.
melt? What's smelting?
Smelting.
No, you're
Smelting.
correct. It's smelting.
Anyway.
Sorry.